ice cream delivery man.
Need your ice cream truck.
You are not taking my truck! How far you got to go? Come now. On later this weekend, action being served on the rocks with a twist. You attack me with an empty gun! When this is all over, I'm gonna get you! Cuba Gooding Jr., Skeet Ulrich, Chill Factor, Race On, starts Wednesday, September 1st.
Clearly trying to create the next Lethal Weapon, huh, guys? It's literally the same plot as Lethal Weapon, except these guys are police officers. One's an ice cream delivery guy, and the other's a store clerk. And the story here, you have them as these two civilians who are forced to protect a deadly chemical weapon from the hands of a group of mercenaries planning to sell the weapon to the highest bidder. And you can pretty much tell what's going to happen here. Every single thing you think is going to happen in this film happens in this movie. There is no surprises whatsoever. The two of these two guys have no chemistry whatsoever. This director, who's done a lot of Ridley Scott work, it's his first film as a feature as a director. I don't think he's directed anything else since then. I could be wrong on that, but you would think they would give him a better film to work on than this. And where did you spend $70 million on this movie? I couldn't believe the budget on this was $70 million, and this thing barely made $12 million worldwide. I mean, it was a flop, and quite frankly, it didn't really take a whole lot for this to be a flop because, like I said, Cuba Gooding Jr. and Skeet Ulrich have no chemistry whatsoever. It's not that funny, it's not that clever, it's not that interesting. And like I said, you could predict everything that's going to happen from this point forward. I mean, I don't think I need to tell you what happens in here. What you probably think happens in your head when you think of a film like this, yeah, that definitely happens in here. I didn't even need to tell you what it was, but it's that uninventive, it's that uninspired. It's a film that they were clearly trying to set up the next big action franchise, but the problem is they didn't have a good script to work with here, and they wasted the potential of this decent cinematographer who's done a lot of, like I said, a lot of Ridley Scott movies that are nicely shot overall, but here, they don't give him much to do here whatsoever. He doesn't have a good script here. He doesn't have anything to make this thing work in the end, and it's just a major misfire on a number of levels. And it's a shame because Cuba Gooding Jr., I mean, he still can be a decent actor. We've seen him in stuff like this, we've seen him in stuff that's been much better than this, but this is one of those movies that makes you question what's your agent telling you about these films. Like, why did you take this? Like, why did you take this film? Skeet Ulrich I can understand, because Skeet Ulrich, let's be honest, he's not really that great of an action star overall, so this thing kind of faltered for him right from the get-go. But Cuba Gooding Jr., at that point in time, deserved much better than this. I mean, it's a mess of a film. Chill factor, avoid it like the plague. So let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, Alec Baldwin in Outside Providence.
Timothy Dunphy has a broken home, a three-legged dog.
Get that mangy playback out of his house!
And two strikes against him.
You bit a parked cop car.
But he's about to get a future, whether he likes it or not.
What's a prep school? It's to prepare you for not getting your neck broke by me. No smoking, no drinking, no drugs, no swearing, no sex.
It's beautiful. That's what I always wanted.
I got it at the dentist.
From the Farrelly brothers, the guys who made There's Something About Mary, comes something that will really make your hair stand on end.
Making out is like Chinese dinner. It ain't over until you both get your cookies. So, remember I said that.
Outside Providence.
Technically, they only wrote the script for this, and they were also producers on it. They didn't direct this film, but this was a point where you have, they came off of There's Something About Mary, and they were, they were trying to see if their name could sell a lot of these movies that they had their name on it, and not so much. The films that they did not produce did not do well as far as the producing efforts at the beginning of their careers, but of their success after There's Something About Mary. But you have a story here about this guy played by Sean Hatosy, who is about his life of mischief, his incentive to attend the Cornwall Academy preparatory boarding school, and his realization that the haze in which he's lived in has to give away something that will stay with him forever. And he meets a woman played by I'm trying to see who this person is because I don't know. It's Amy Smart. Of course I know who Amy Smart is. Road Trip. I'm trying to read the plot here and I can't find her here. But Alec Baldwin plays his father, and Alec Baldwin is at least doing a decent job here, given like a different kind of accent than I'm used to hearing from him. But I thought he did pretty well here. The movie itself is just okay. It's a film that you could definitely tell that if the Farrelly brothers had more of an effort in the directing of this probably could have been a whole lot better. But as it is, it's not the worst thing ever. And I mean, it's definitely got a lot of elements to it that I think are very different from what we're used to seeing from the Farrelly brothers up to this point. But it definitely felt like something that, if they had more control over it, they couldn't do this because they were working on There's Something About Mary at the time. And you got some decent performances here overall. Shonda Tosi, I thought, was doing a pretty good job. John Abrams, Jonathan Brandis, George Wentz also in here as well. The film overall itself is not bad. It's not a bad film whatsoever. Not a great film, but it definitely could have used a lot more of a little bit of the Farrelly brothers' efforts into this to make this stand out more overall. It's a film that's okay, but definitely could have been a lot better had the Farrelly brothers have been more involved in this. But I'd say give it a watch. For a one-time watch, it's not the worst thing ever, but at the same time, you do kind of expect a little bit more from it. But that's pretty much all I got to say about that one. That's Outside Providence.
Is a power beyond human comprehension. A force that defies the laws of nature.
Somebody needs to tell me what's going on.
A mystery that is the ultimate incarnation.
There is no scientific explanation.
Of evil. Boy, you must observe a moment for Dante.
I just want my life back.
You have no idea who you're dealing with. Stigmata. Radar starts Friday, September.
Now, hear me out. I have reason to believe that this exists in the same universe as End of Days, because, of course, Gabriel Byrne was in that movie. He wasn't a priest in that movie. He's a priest in this movie, and both of these movies kind of deal with demonic possessions in a way. You have a story here where you follow an atheist hairdresser played by Patricia Arquette from Pittsburgh, a Pittsburgh movie, who was affected with stigmata after acquiring a rosary found formerly owned by a deceased Italian priest who himself had suffered from the phenomenon. And, yeah, this movie's not really all that good. And would you expect anything more from the director of Blank Check and The Fog? I don't think so. I mean, despite the fact that it has some really good talent here, Patricia Arquette, Gabriel Byrne, Jonathan Pryce, Neil Long, Portia de Rossi, you expect a lot better from this movie. And it is mostly just a generic, bland possession movie. It really is just a possession film. It's not like The Exorcist, sort of, but it's just like, it's about as close to not being The Exorcist than it is to being The Exorcist. I mean, that's kind of the way to describe this movie, and it's not the best way to describe it. And the acting overall just really does not help the film in the long run. It's a film that you really expect more from with the talent that they have on here. And there's good ideas to the film overall. We've never had a movie like this, and I just realized there's a piece of glitter on me. I got some candy earlier today, and it was actually covered in glitter. I don't know why, but it just took over most of the bag. I tried to clean it off, but as you can tell, I didn't get most of it. So I've had that going there for a long time now. But where was I going with this? But Stigmata is just a film that has good ideas to it. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of interesting concepts that they have to work with, but it just never really goes the way it probably should go. And the film did really poorly with the critics, but it did pretty well in terms of the box office. I mean, it made over $90 million on a budget of $29 million. I mean, this thing tripled its budget despite the fact that it had all these negative reviews for it. I guess people were just in a horror movie kick at that time because Blair Witch Project had been out for a while now. People didn't go for The Haunting, so they were probably looking for a good horror film. I don't know why they found it with this film, but apparently that was enough to get people to go out and see it. And so yeah, not much more to say about that one. Some good ideas overall, just not the right execution, and a waste of really good, talented people in the cast. So yeah, that's Stigmata. Let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is easily the best movie that came out this weekend. Kevin Bacon and Stir of Echoes.
Hypnotize me. Come on.
No.
Why not? What's the worst that can happen?
What the hell did she do to me? The man's switch got flipped. He's a receiver now. He can't stop it. He can't slow it down. He can't even figure it out.
Whatever door you open, I want you to shut it.
Stir of Echoes. Rated R.
See there, kids? That right there is what we call F around and find out, because pretty much Kevin Bacon was asking for that. But this is written and directed by David Cope and based off of the novel by Richard Matheson, who also gave us some other notable works, including most notably I Am Legend, as well as the famous Twilight Zone episode Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, just a number of other things to his name. So you got two really unique, gifted people working on this. Is a master story writer in Richard Matheson, and a great writer and director in David Coep. And you have a story here where you follow a telephone worker played by Kevin Bacon who begins to experience a series of frightening visions after being hypnotized by her sister-in-law played by Elena Douglas. You have Catherine Erb from Law & Order Criminal Intent and Kevin Dunn among the cast as well as Jennifer Morrison. And a story that really... we talked about it before with Stigmata. It kind of came around a time when there was just so much there for horror fans to really get involved into. The Sixth Sense, Blair Witch Project, The Mummy. This thing kind of found itself lost in the shuffle, and it's a shame because it's a really damn good movie. It's kind of a mix between what's the two movies I want to describe here? I know one of them is Jacob's Ladder, which has there's definitely a lot of sense of Jacob's Ladder there, except that one had more heavier imagery than this film, but it has a lot of the same ideas. So Jacob's Ladder, and I'm trying to think of what the other movie I want to compare it to as. Maybe a little bit of The Shining in there too. I had the other movie in my head for a while now, but it just kind of went through my head. So right now I'm just going to go with Jacob's Ladder and The Shining, because it kind of feels like a mix between the two of them. And Kevin Bacon really is fantastic in the film. He gets a really good, solid performance out of this that is very much... it's all over the place, but in a good way. Like, he really sells the film overall. It's so good, it's creepy at times. And David Coep, I mean, he's a really good director who's made a lot of great stuff. Like, he made he did Ghost Town, which is a very underrated gem. Premium Rush was a really good film. He tried to work with Kevin Bacon again a couple of years ago with You Should Have Left, which that should have not gone to theaters as it did and went straight to Peacock. But and again, it was COVID times. But God, it feels like that. God, we're saying that now. That was COVID times, even though we're kind of still, even though that time has since gone by, we've gotten better since then. You still feel a little bit of the after effects there. I'm getting distracted on this episode. There's just so many things going on right now, but I digress. Stir of Echoes, it's a movie that has garnered a cult following and even has had spin-offs and successful films, successful attempts to try, not really successful, but attempts to try to continue the story. The Sci-Fi Channel actually made a sequel to this that was not connected to this film whatsoever, and it barely has a connection between the main character in this film, Kevin Bacon, who had a key role in the original film, but is only a secondary character here, played by a completely different person, if I'm not mistaken. No, is it Rob Lowe? No, it's a completely different person. Zachary Bennett. I have no idea who that is, but yeah, I never saw that one, so I can't really say for certain. Now my computer's freezing. Hang on one sec. The overall point I'm trying to make here is that we are getting so many distractions on this episode, but the main point I'm trying to make with this particular film is that it's a really good movie. It's a movie that was not the big hit when it came out, but it, like a lot of these movies coming out around this time, it garnered so much of a cult following that it has had the kind of success later on down the road that it should have had right from the beginning. And if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. Even if you've never read the source material like I didn't do, you would definitely get a really enjoyable... what am I trying to say here? You would definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of this film. So, yeah, go see Stir of Echoes. Let's move on to our last film, and that is French Stewart and Brigitte Wilson in the comedy Love Stinks.
Who is that? Chelsea Turner.
Hi.
Hi. How'd you like to go dancing under the stars?
I think that Seth could be the one. I like you.
Oh. Already?
So say it back.
It's back.
I'm gonna marry that man.
Just keep dropping hints.
Seems to be a theme running through your reading material.
Spoil and rotten. You can have the wildest night of sex in your life.
Yeah, well, that's got a shot at working.
He will come around.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Ooh. You're not proposing, are you? I am pretty. I am sexy. I am fun. So why won't you marry me?
I mean, if he's not going to do it, I would do it. I mean, that's literally my first thought when I saw that trailer. It's just like, you know, she's kind of got a point there, but I digress. I'm lucky I stopped there because after that, it's nothing but really, really, really bad sitcom jokes. But So you got a story here where you have French Stewart playing a successful television writer. He's got a successful career in television, good friends, and a passionate relationship with beautiful Chelsea, played by Brigitte Wilson. However, when he fails to make a timely marriage proposal, Chelsea tries to make his life hell. And like I said before, the rest of the trailer is literally nothing but really bad sitcom jokes that are just not funny at all. And it's not surprising this movie crashed and burned at the box office big time, because first of all, French Stewart, he's great as a supporting character on Third Rock from the Sun. As a leading man, I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they thought that he'd be perfect to lead this film. I really have no idea how else to describe this film. This is written and directed by Jeff Franklin, and that's a name that you might not be familiar with by name, but you have definitely seen his work if you watch Full House and Fuller House, because he created both of those shows, and this was his first attempt at making a feature film. Kind of like how Bob Saget directed his first big comedy for the big screen with Dirty Work the year before, but unlike this film, Dirty Work was actually funny. This is not. Every single bad sitcom-y joke you can think of from a guy that's written a lot of sitcom-y stuff is in this film. It's clear that Jeff Franklin clearly was not ready to take on a project like this, and you really need to get somebody who could work this type of a black comedy. It's not really much of a comedy, really. It's like, it just doesn't have anything worth of it whatsoever. There's not anything that's worthy of it whatsoever, is what I'm really trying to say here. It's a one joke premise. I mean, it's one of those movies that exists just for the one joke, but you know, it could work if you had good talent behind the camera as well as on the screen. Like if you had somebody like who would be a good person for the time period? Maybe the Farrelly Brothers. The Farrelly Brothers probably could have made this work. I mean, you could do kind of like a Heartbreak Kid type of thing before they would actually do the Heartbreak Kid remake. It's about 10 years after this. Maybe David Zucker. Maybe who's another big comedy director? Tom Shiniak, maybe not, but those are the three big ones I can think of right away. Even somebody like a Chris Columbus, or even a Rob Reiner, or a Billy Crystal, or even a Woody Allen. I think a lot of those people could have made this, put their style into a project like this. But when you have the guy who was responsible for giving us Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, so thanks for that. But when you have that, it just doesn't work like they want it to. It's a film that exists for one joke. You don't have the right people to make it work. I mean, if you had actual talent behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, in front of the camera, that would actually fit this type of a role better, I think you would have had something here. But as it is, this is just it feels like this was a pilot for a TV series that was blown up for the big screen. Somebody said, if you want to try to save this project, try to make it a feature-length film, and just put whatever you can to it, even if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you sell it as a comedy, we'll probably find better success with it. And this is the end result of it. A comedy that isn't that funny, isn't that clever, has some good talent in there. Tyra Banks, which I don't hate Tyra Banks as much, but I don't think she was that great of an actress, except with a couple exceptions where she was kind of perfectly cast for a role or two. But I'm talking about people like Jason Bateman's in this movie. Like, you see him a little bit in the trailer. You see Colleen Camp. You see John O'Hurley. You see maybe that's the star power they have in here. Yeah, I don't hate Brigitte Wilson. I mean, I think her biggest problem as an actress was that they got her to do a lot of screaming in every single movie she's in. They try to set, like in Last Action Hero, a lot of her scenes are her just screaming off the top of her lungs. And in Mortal Kombat, she's supposed to be this badass, and she gets taken down so easily by the bad guys. It's just like, I don't disrespect her as an actress overall. I think she's decent. She's a decent actress, but she's never been really given anything really that capable of doing anything of noteworthiness in terms of these films. And here, she's passable. Like, she's not screaming off the top of her lungs in this one. So I guess that's a first thing here. Tiffany Amber Thiesen's in here. I mean, she's been in some decent stuff before. Bill Bellamy, like, he's been in some decent stuff I've seen. French Stewart is very funny on Third Rock from the Sun, but like I said, as a leading actor, I just don't think he has the chops for it. I mean, I'm trying to think, is there anything else I can really say about this film that hasn't already been said? Probably not. I mean, I didn't think I could even get 5 minutes worth of material, which is kind of where we're at right now on this. But bottom line, this is not a very good movie. It's not a good film. It's a lackluster premise. It's a one-joke plot. A pilot that was clearly blown up for the big screen. Just barely makes the feature length, too. What more do I gotta say, man? Love stinks, so does this movie. That's the best way to describe it.
Gorgeous. He stole the rock. And he hid it in a safe place.
You remember the rest?
2 years later.
I'm afraid. Damn. When I left, he was like, look out. Now you like,
His hiding place is not what it used to be.
is he in a police station? Of course.
Now, to get back to his rock.
These are deliveries for robbery, homicide. There's two types of people that get through that door. People wearing handcuffs, people wearing a badge.
You need the ultimate disguise.
I'm a detective.
I know the real reason that you're here.
You're the new lead detective. Me?
Maybe partners with things like a marriage is more like a one-night stand.
He's keeping the peace.
Hands on the pavement. Mom, Tony.
Protecting the innocent. You don't do that kind of training in the academy.
Believe that.
And taking the law into his own hands.
If my client gets so much as a scratch on him,
You can't touch me.
detective!
If he walks like it, how'd you get so good? Talks like it,
Might want to buckle up.
he's gotta be
I'm an officer of the law.
full of it.
Just who the hell are you working for? I'm a federal. You're Mexican? Guess I can see it. Glasses.
Lawrence. Blue Streak.
So this is actually inspired by a 1965 film called The Big Job, and you have Martin Lawrence playing a jewel thief who tries to retrieve a diamond he left at a police station, whereupon he disguises himself as a detective and gets paired with a real policeman, played by Luke Wilson, to investigate burglaries. This would never fly today, but, I don't know, maybe it would, but regardless, this is still a pretty funny movie, and I'm talking about watching it here. This is a comedy. It's supposed to be not supposed to be taken that seriously, and the film clearly lets you know right from the get-go that, yeah, this is not meant to be taken seriously whatsoever. I mean, there's no way that this would work in real life. This guy would just come up and pretend to be a police officer. They would have arrested him pretty quickly once they found out who he really was, but again, it's me trying to bring logic into this, but this is a really funny movie, man. Martin Lawrence is so good in this film. I mean, this is a film that his character just fits him so well. A ton of great, silly, slapsticky, over-the-top comedy. Just really funny stuff in here. You have a great cast that includes Luke Wilson, Dave Chappelle, Nicole Ari Parker, William Forsythe, Peter Green. I mean, there's a really good amount of people in here. You saw Octavia Spencer in one of her early film roles in this film. And I believe that was Octavia Spencer. Okay, it's weird here because on the Wikipedia page for Blue Streak, she's not listed in the credits. But if you go to her Wikipedia page, it's listed in the filmography. So that's why I got confused there for a second. I didn't know. I didn't want to get it confused and say that was somebody that wasn't supposed to be. But yeah, that's one of Octavia Spencer's early film roles before eventually she went on to become the actress that we know her as today. But like I said before, man, this is a really funny movie. It's a film that is just, it knows exactly what type of movie it is. It knows what it's trying to be. It's interesting because this is directed by Les Mayfield, whose previous film was Flubber, a film that thought maybe it was trying to be much sillier than it had any intentions on being, but it was too silly for its own good. Plus, it had a premise that you were hoping, you just needed a lot of the ability to not know what logic is to make this work, and that film didn't do it well. But this film clearly has an indication that the logic in this does not make any sense whatsoever. We're supposed to be laughing at the silly, ridiculous, over-the-top moments in here. And the results speak for themselves, man. This is a film that is really, really funny. And supposedly there was going to be a sequel to this, but they never did it, which, you know what, I'm good with that because, let's be honest, most comedy sequels do not do so well. But the script was actually later reused for the Chris Rock, Anthony Hopkins movie Bad Company, which when we get to that movie, you'll notice a lot of similarities between this movie Blue Streak, as well as that film. But needless to say, this is the much better film, and it is a very funny movie. It's a very silly, very ridiculous comedy that just has so many good elements here that make me laugh out loud. It's a really good film. I really enjoyed it a lot. It's a silly movie that knows exactly what it is, and it does a good job of making you believe the silliness of it. Yeah, it's very fun. I enjoyed it a lot. So that's Blue Streaks. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Sam Raimi's For the Love of the Game.
For Love of the Game, among the great sports films of all time, is also a tender and touching romance. Not to be missed, 4 stars, a great baseball film, a glorious love story. Haven't you ever loved anything that much? The most inspiring film of the year. Look at me back. Up in your eyes. Kevin Costner, For Love of the Game. Rated PG-13, starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
So yeah, that's Kevin Costner, and also Kelly Preston is in here as well. I keep forgetting that Kelly Preston's no longer with us anymore, man. That's just... I always liked her as an actress, even though a lot of the movies that she was in were not as great as they should have been, but the way she died, that's just way too sad to think about that. But this movie follows the perfect game performance of an aging star baseball player, played by Kevin Costner, as he deals with the pressures of pitching in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx for his final outing by calming himself with memories about a long-time relationship. And, of course, Kevin Costner made probably the greatest baseball movie of all time, one of the greatest baseball movies of all time, with Field of Dreams. But let's talk about Sam Raimi, because you look at the trailers for this, and you look at that commercial, you would have never figured that this is a Sam Raimi movie, because his style is not in here. And, it'd be something, that's fine. I mean, for a director like him, like, his style doesn't really need to be in there. It's nice to see him do something a little bit outside of his norm, but he explained why he took this on. He basically said that he was moved by the script. He was moved and simply that he loved baseball, and he thought that he hadn't really been put on film. It hadn't really been put on film, and he wanted to see it in widescreen format. And he thought that would be exciting for the audience, like being in a game. But I don't know, like the idea of this guy having all these memories while he's on the mound, and like he's having all these memories, and people probably in that audience are just like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" Somebody want to check on him, because like. Some of that could be a little bit distracting at times, and it definitely shows in the film. In fact, the movie was actually cut down several times. They had to basically remove a lot of lines in the film to prevent the film from getting to an R rating. And Kevin Costner said didn't like the edits, but Universal overruled him by saying that his contract specific. He said that he only had final cut privileges so long as the film was PG-13 and had a runtime of less than 2 hours and 10 minutes. And he even actually, a week before the movie hit theaters, went to voice his complaints to Newsweek, and Universal said that, basically just told him that, yeah, Kevin Costner, he can agree with he agrees with Costner on the cuts. The chairman of the Universal said this, but he's not the director, and it's not fair to hijack a $50 million asset. So you can tell that this film probably put Universal and Kevin Costner on really bad terms, but she had a point. This was not his movie, but unfortunately the film itself, though, as much as it had the highest intentions from Sam Raimi, it just really didn't work overall. Like, the biggest problem with the film is that it's just a sappy love story, and you really need a good chemistry between Kevin Costner as well as Kelly Preston to really make it work. And they're fine in the film, but not enough to really carry the film overall. And yeah, it's kind of a step backwards for Sam Raimi, because A Simple Plan really showed what he can do outside of the genre movies that he had made beforehand. He can make a really good thriller out of that. But this, it just feels like a film that's been done to death. I mean, Kevin Costner's playing the nice guy like he played in Field of Dreams, that gets put on this adventure of his. And it just doesn't work overall. It's a really sappy movie. It's a film that you could tell was clearly put out around this time to be an Oscar contender, to give Kevin Costner a chance to win another Oscar, which did not work, because this film did not get any Academy Awards. In fact, far from it, he got a Razzie Award for this. But then again, the credibility of the Razzie Awards can be very much into question. Yeah, bottom line, this is not a good movie. It's a really, really lame film. It's not even a bad movie. It's just a boring film that doesn't have anything to make it work. And for Sam Raimi, I gotta give him credit for trying to do something a little bit different, but this felt like a step backwards for him big time, especially after A Simple Plan. But luckily for him, he would rebound pretty quickly after this, because his next movie would actually be a movie that was right in line with A Simple Plan, something a little bit outside of his norm, but that would be The Gift, which would come out the year after this. But we'll eventually get to that one when we get to that one. But for this film, yeah, hard pass on this film, unfortunately. So let's get to the best movie overall this weekend, the year's Best Picture winner, and that is Sam Raimi's American Beauty.
Blackmailed my boss for almost $60,000. That's disparaging.
What? My parents are trying to take an active interest in me.
I'm so proud of you. You didn't screw up once.
Oh my god, it's a psycho next door.
I didn't mean to scare you. I'm just curious.
Why does he dress like a Bible censor?
Oh, I see. You think you're the only one who's sexually frustrated.
Well then, come on, baby, I'm ready.
There happens to be a lot about me that you don't know, Mr. Smarty Man.
This is for your own good, boy.
Yes, sir. Don't give up on me, Dad.
Sometimes there's so much beauty in the world. I feel like I can't take it.
Can you bring out the absolute worst in me?
Smile. You're at Mr. Smiley's.
You are so busted.
This is a story about how you have this guy played by Kevin Spacey, who's an advertising executive who has a midlife crisis when he becomes infatuated with his teenage daughter's best friend, played by Mina Suvari. Annette Bening plays his wife, who has an affair with Peter Gallagher, and Thora Birch plays the insecure daughter who ends up having a relationship with the next-door neighbor, played by Wes Bentley. You also have Chris Cooper, Allison Janney. This is a film that went on to become a big hit when it came out, and then eventually won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Director, Best Actor for Spacey, Best Original Screenplay for Alan Ball, who later go on to make 6 Feet Under, Best Cinematography for Conrad L. Hall, and Best Picture of the Year, which one of the few times the Academy Awards got it right, because this was a really good film when it came out in 1999. It's very questionable, the stuff that happens in this film nowadays, and yeah, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like the stuff that's happened in the 20 years since then has kind of hurt the film's overall legacy since then. Of course, the big thing is that Kevin Spacey, of course, was at the height of the Me Too movement. He was, as it meant to many critics and one of Spacey's accusers, to find uncomfortable parallels between his character and Kevin Spacey in real life. But the big difference in this movie is that, yeah, Kevin Spacey is a sick, twisted person in the film, and yeah, he's close to actually having sex with this teenage girl, but in the end, he doesn't do it. I mean, I guess that's something that you could say towards the film, and like, basically, he doesn't do it because she said she's been a virgin, and he's taken aback by that and realizes that his existence was a veil for her innocence, and he can't continue with that. And yeah, I know a lot of people can take that the wrong way nowadays, but watching the movie again not too long ago, I still think this film holds up, is still a very good film. At times it doesn't hold up very well, but just the artistic style of this movie just is so pleasing to look at. Some of the visuals in here really are impressive, and you have a great cast overall in here. I mean, Kevin Spacey plays the scumbag role very well here. He has a lot of great lines in the film, and yeah, it's easy to see why he won the Best Actor Oscar for this. Annette Bening has a great job of having to combat with him throughout for some of the best lines in the film. And she's really good in the film. I think this is the film that made people realize that Annette Bening really is a damn good actress, and she really can hold her own against somebody like Kevin Spacey. Mina Suvari, Thora Birch, they're very good in here. Wes Bentley is decent in here. His character probably is the weak link of the film, because he really just doesn't have a whole lot to do in terms of the overall story, and he doesn't really have much of a relationship with Thora Birch in the film. It's a film that really is described as, a lot of people, academics say that it's describing satirizing how beauty and personal satisfaction are perceived by the American middle class. Further analysis on this has included stuff like romantic and maternal love, sexuality, materialism, self-liberation, and redemption. And yeah, you can definitely see that in this film. I'm not going to be one of those people that say that it's not a good film, even after all these years. This is still one of my favorite movies of all time, and like, Kevin Spacey really is very good in the film, despite everything that's happened to him since then. You can't deny that this guy is a damn good actor. Yeah, he did a lot. He did a lot of things that he'll probably regret later on down the road when nobody's really given him any acting roles to do. But I mean, he's really good in the film, and he really shows why he deserves to win the Oscar for this film. It's a funny movie. It's a well-made drama. It's a visually pleasing-looking film. I love this movie. I mean, I still love it after all these years, even after everything that's gone on in the decades since then. I still really enjoy this movie a lot. American Beauty is one of my favorite movies from the year, and I'm glad it won Best Picture. I still think it holds up. I think it holds up for the majority of it, even after all these years, and it's still a really good film. I highly recommend it.
I didn't kill my husband.
Deception. I think it's one of telling the truth. Betrayal. Point it,
Nick?
Revenge.
The state says you already killed your husband, and you find him. Kill him, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
On September 24th, murder is not always a crime. Tommy Lee Jones, Ashley Judd.
I could sit you in the middle of Mardi Gras, and they can't touch me.
Double Jeopardy.
They do something. Prosecution best.
Rated R. Friday, September 24th, everywhere.
So the story here is that you have Bruce Greenwood playing Nick Parsons, who appeared to be murdered by his wife, Libby, played by Ashley Judd. She's tried and convicted, and 6 years later, Libby is paroled and pursued by a parole officer, played by Tommy Lee Jones, as she sets out to find her son and settle the score with Nick. And so the whole idea of the film is that it's supposed to be about Double Jeopardy, the thing where the whole idea of Double Jeopardy... This is probably the main reason why this movie does not work, because I can read it off of your Wikipedia, because it'll sound better coming from there, from my mouth. But according to this, the misinterpretation of the concept of double jeopardy. The film incorrectly implies that the double jeopardy clause of the Fifth Amendment gives somebody a free pass to commit a subsequent crime if they're wrongfully convicted. As the newspaper columnist Straight Dope pointed out, a crime for double jeopardy purposes consists of a specific set of facts. Change the facts, and you've got a new crime. No one would believe that a person convicted of beating Richard Roe to a pulp on December 8th could avoid another conviction for tracking down poor Rich in February for wailing on him again. In the case of homicide, which cannot naturally be committed against the same person twice, it may give the impression that the first wrongful conviction would preclude a factually correct second one. Legally, this is not the case. The second prosecution can proceed in a retrial since the veracity of the original verdict is now undermined by known facts. However, murder is a state crime, so in Libby's specific case in this movie, a prosecution of her for shooting Nick in the state of Louisiana would not be precluded by her convictions for stabbing her to death in Washington. The states become separate sovereigns. I think that's pretty much everything you need to know about what's wrong with this movie. I mean, if you can't figure out what the concept of your own title is, then you shouldn't be making this movie whatsoever. And I always thought this movie was based off of a book or something, but nope. Just two guys who saw the name Double Jeopardy, thought it'd be cool, read only a Cliff Notes version about what this is, and just said, let's make a movie off of it. We don't care if we do our facts the right way. Let's make a film out of it. I mean, we got Tommy Lee Jones, we got Ashley Judd, we've got Bruce Beresford, the director of Driving Miss Daisy. I mean, we can make this work no matter what. But when you can't figure out what the meaning of the title is, that's a huge problem with this film. And you don't like anybody in this movie per se. You don't like any of the characters who are supposed to be the victims. You don't like any of the people that you're supposed to root for. You don't like anybody in this movie, shape, or form. Tommy Lee Jones is just playing another version of his character from The Fugitive and U.S. Marshals. Except those movies made him kind of a likable person that you knew that he had a job to do, and you did get along, and you did follow him along with him. You didn't look at him and go crazy, and you didn't look at him as a bad guy per se. But in here, you don't like anybody in this movie, and the script does a terrible job of trying to keep you invested in this. This is like a film that would be one of those made-for-TV movies that they would have back on TV in the late 80s and 90s. You know, that'd be the CBS Movie of the Week, but because they have an Oscar winner in Tommy Lee Jones in here, it's got to be on the big screen. They've got the director of one of the best pictures of the last couple of years, Driving Miss Daisy, so we got to put this on a big screen. Ashley Judd's a hot young star. Let's put her on the big screen. This movie clearly would not do well on the big screen. Toy boat. But what I'm trying to say, bottom line here is that this is a terrible movie, and this thing should not be shown on a big screen. This is something that should have been seen straight to TV, straight to DVD, straight to video, whatever they had back then. But because it has people who have won Oscars and people that are rising stars, we've got to put it on the big screen, and unfortunately, people ate it up. It was like Runaway Bride all over again, and Runaway Bride was a terrible movie too, and this is I'd say this is worse than Runaway Bride, because Runaway Bride was at least trying, but it didn't succeed. This wasn't even trying in any way, shape, or form. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. Avoid this one like the plague. Double Jeopardy, avoid it like the plague, like I said. But speaking of movies you should avoid like the plague, here's Robin Williams and Jacob the Liar.
Believe in Jacob the Liar. This is the BBC. Robin Williams gives an Oscar-worthy performance.
We have a special guest, Winston Churchill.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
He's got the radio, and it could be dangerous for him.
Jacob the Liar is stunning.
I admire what you're doing.
You must see this unforgettable film.
Gesundheit, Mr. Churchill.
Jacob the Liar opens everywhere September 24th.
How much money did they pay those critics to say that? I mean, this, I don't know, this might have been around the time they had that David Manning, Sony had that fake critic David Manning putting those reviews out there. I didn't see his name on there, but would you really be surprised if he didn't give this movie praise? But this film is this is based off of a book, and it's set in the 1944 in the ghetto in German-occupied Poland during the Holocaust, and tells the story of a Polish Jewish shoekeeper named Jacob Hyam, who attempts to raise the moral inside the ghettos by sharing encouraging rumors that he claims that he heard on a radio. It's freaking good. It's freaking Good Morning Vietnam all over again. It's Good Morning Vietnam mixed with Schindler's List, and yeah, it's a terrible movie. This is one of those other movies that Robin Williams did after he won an Oscar for Good Will Hunting, that he was trying to win another Oscar and just started a cliched riddled mess of a film. The first was Patch Adams. This is another one, and this was part of that time where this was part of that little bit of a lull between Robin Williams' between Good Will Hunting and his kind of return to form with Insomnia and 1 Hour Photo, where his career really took a nosedive, and he was just taking these really terrible movies like this, trying to get an Oscar, another Oscar, but nothing. But Good Will Hunting won him the Oscar. He didn't have to make these movies, and this one, I will say this: it's not as bad as something like Patch Adams. Patch Adams was just a mess of a film on an emotional level, on a storytelling level. This one has an interesting story. It could maybe work, but not when you have the same guy that's pretty much doing the same thing he did in Good Morning Vietnam. I'm sorry, but that is exactly what this movie is. It's Good Will Hunting, except this takes place in the middle of the Holocaust. I mean, like, it just doesn't work. It's not a good movie, and Robin Williams does not have that accent to make this work. You see Alan Arkin in there, you see Liev Schreiber, Bob Balaban. Great cast overall, but there's nothing good that comes out of this movie whatsoever. Everybody is just yucking it up to try to get an Oscar nomination, and it did the exact opposite. He got a nomination for the Razzie Awards that year. So that should pretty much tell you that nobody really cared about this movie, and nobody really wanted to see this. And yeah, I've got nothing else to say about this one. This is a terrible, terrible movie. Again, avoid this one like the plague. So can we finally turn us around with our next movie, Mumford? Let's see if we can do that.
You don't need training.
You studied psychology, right?
No.
English lit.
You don't need a license.
Most of the time I'm taking it. Interesting approach.
You don't need to say much.
Stop. That's all the time we have.
Oh, I have 18 more minutes.
I don't want to hear any more today.
You just need patience who believes in you.
Feel free to lie down.
I don't know how far it's sleep. I think it's too soon for me to be sleeping.
Mumford.
What kind of doctor are you?
PhD, psychologist.
Not a real doctor.
That's right, the fake kind.
Rated R. Sleep Saturdays for activities.
Nope. This is a boring ass film. You have a small town with a new psychiatrist played by Lauren Dean, because they were trying to make him a big name. Billy Bathgate back almost 10 years prior to this, and apparently he had the benefit of starring in some films such as Apollo 13 and How to Make an American Quit, where I guess that kind of gave him a little bit of a push in his career. But he's given offbeat advice to the neurotic residents. Both the psychiatrist and the town are also named Mumford. A coincidence that eventually figures into the plot. You also have Hope Davis, Jason Lee, Alfred Woodard, Mary McDonnell, Martin Short, David Paymer, Ted Danson, Zooey Deschanel makes her film debut in this. But other than that, though, this is a pretty boring film. I mean, this is just like, imagine if they tried to do Dr. Katz in real life, except you don't have as many interesting stories going on, and it's not animated like Dr. Katz is, and not funny. That's exactly what this movie is. This is a bland, boring movie that has nothing about it whatsoever. And it's another one of those movies that has those insane budgets, like $28 million. Where the hell did you spend $28 million on this movie? And sadly, this was the point where Lawrence Kasdan, who had started his career off on a high note, writing the Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Empire Strikes Back, directing Body Heat, The Big Chill. His career really took a nosedive starting with this film, and then after this he did Dreamcatcher, and then he never really rebounded after that. And it's a shame because he's a good director, but man, this is a boring movie. You need to have something to make this stand out more, but all this movie has is, oh, look at these different celebrities, look at these different celebrities. Hey, there's Sam from Cheers, there's Earl from My Name is Earl, like all these different people. If they had a point to them, give them something to do, maybe you could have something here, but you expect more from Lawrence Kasdan, you expect more from the people involved in here. It's a boring movie, man. This is just a mess of a film, and I think I pretty much said everything that needs to be said about this one, so that's Mumford. And the week, this is a pretty rotten week because our last film is Dennis Rodman in Simon Says. No, it's over, Dennis. It's over for your movie career. You might still have a great career left in the NBA, but yeah, this was pretty much the end of Dennis Rodman's action film era that he was in at that point. He plays an Interpol agent named Simon who goes on a mission in France to save a kidnapped girl and defeats an arms dealer. Gee, haven't heard that story done before. But don't worry, because we have cybermonks in here, one of them played by John Panette, and Dane Cook is his sidekick, and get the hell out of here. No, seriously, get the hell out of here. That would have been me if I heard this pitch. It was just like, we're not making this movie. But this film was made mostly because the NBA was on lockout in 1998, which means that all the basketball players that had to do something else, unfortunately, because of that was going on, and they didn't play again until January of '99. So Dennis Rodman made this and basically said the work stoppages that temporarily put on hold Rodman's commitments to the league. So he said that he'll do this film, but this is another one of those stupid movies. This is a movie that you've seen done to death. If Dane Cook is your sidekick in this movie, in an action film like this, and you're supposed to be taken as seriously as this movie wants you to make him be like, it's not going to work. Like, you're not Brian Bosworth. When Brian Bosworth made Stone Cold is a terrible movie, but that's a film that knew it was so bad it's good. It's one of those guilty pleasure movies that, like, Brian Bosworth is not that great of an action star, but he was one of the. But that movie was really, really stupid, but fun. Stupid, good fun, I should say. This is just stupid. It's not even fun. Like, yeah, everyone says, hey, the cybermonks are pretty cool, but listen to what you just said. Cybermonks. I mean, I'm just kind of ranting. I'm just kind of rambling on here because really, this is not a good movie. I keep hearing people talking about this as a so bad it's good type of film, but no, this is just a so bad it's bad movie. Like, Speed 2 is a so bad it's good movie. The first Space Jam is a so bad it's good movie. Stone Cold is a so bad it's good movie. This is one of those movies that's just flat out terrible right from the get-go. It was clearly made because Dennis Rodman didn't have anything else to do because he couldn't play basketball. So not a good week for the movies this week as we wrap it up with Simon Says.